This is another great book by Ken Johnson. I really appreciate a lot of the stuff he's putting out on Gnostics and post-flood history and, you know, the Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilees. This is just another in that long line. I've tried to get everything he's got. I can't find them now. They're somewhere. I had them all put out, going to do a review, and I can't find them. But anyhow, this is on the Book of Jasher. Now, most people would say the Book of Jasher, obviously that's a forgery. I'm going to read to you a little bit of what he says on why you could say this Book of Jasher may have some historical validity to it. Now, I've been reading it. Let's see, I stopped on page 53, is it? 54. So, you know, this is not scripture. I wouldn't even say it's accurate history. I'm just reading it for just interesting background material. I'm not one of these guys that gets up and says, you know, let's preach out of the Book of Jasher. Excuse me, or to see what Jasher says. This is just basically for my thing. So, what is the Book of Jasher? The Book of Jasher is one of 13 ancient history books that are recommended reading by the Bible. Out of these 13, only Jasher still in existence. If we are to believe the text itself, the history book was written over 3,500 years ago. It's approximately the same age as the biblical book of Genesis. It covers about the same time period as Genesis and Exodus, has about twice as much information in it than Genesis. It answers a lot of questions raised in Genesis. So, now here's the little paragraph or two that I really want to bring out to you. Jasher mentioned twice in Scripture. It says, how can we be sure this is the real Jasher, not a forgery from the Middle Ages? There's been at least two forgeries. One is an ethical treatise from the Middle Ages that does not exist in English currently, as far as I know. It is somewhat Gnostic in style, beginning with a section on the mystery of creation. A second forgery was published in AD 1829, supposedly translated by Flaccus Albinus Alcuinus. These two are nowhere near the caliber of this Book of Jasher, and both are missing the information that Scripture tells us is in the real Book of Jasher. This is the only Jasher that corresponds to what Scripture says it contains. Now, that's it could also be backdated, though. I do want to make, you know, they could have read the Scripture and then wrote something and say this is what's in here. Much of the extra information contained in Jasher can also be found in the Babylonian Talmud, the Mishnah, and Ginsburg's Legends of the Jews. There are numerous quotes showing Rabbi Eleazar used this Book of Jasher extensively in the 1st century AD, so that's kind of interesting. The Mishnah was completed about AD 200, and the Talmud about 800. We can know for a fact that the Mishnah and Talmud used this Book of Jasher as a source document and not the other way around. Also, since the ancient Cedar Alom was written in AD 169 and references Jasher, we know the Book of Jasher was used by other historians in the 2nd century AD. So I've also got the Cedar Alom. I really want to read that. I haven't. Oh, there's just so much here. Like Janus and Jambres are named here. And so like Paul assumes you should know their names and this kind of thing. Why isn't the Book of Jasher in the Bible? Because it's just history. Who was Jasher? His name means just or upright. What's the history of the Book of Jasher? Let me just read that to you too, because it's kind of cool. According to rabbinic legend, the Book of Jasher and several other ancient non-biblical Hebrew texts were brought from Jerusalem to Spain after the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. One of the officers of Titus, Sidrus by name, was a believer in the God of the Hebrews. He made sure several sacred texts made it out of Jerusalem and into the Spanish city of Sevilla for safekeeping. The Sephardic rabbinate kept the text safe. In the year AD 1613, the first official printed Hebrew copy of the Book of Jasher was published in Venice, Italy, which Venice was a great Republican stronghold. The first translation from the Hebrew version of Jasher into English was completed in AD 1840. So, fascinating stuff. I'll just open it, show you how it looks in here. They've kind of got it in verse references like the Bible. So it's referenced in Joshua 10, 13, 2 Samuel 1:18, and then 2 Timothy 3:8. Has 91 chapters and a detailed analysis of the supposed discrepancy. cross-referenced historical accounts and detailed charts for ease of use. So, just thought you may never want to read this, and that's okay. I would caution you, just don't believe everything in this. The Bible's 100% true. Books like this are not. I just knew there was such controversy over the book of Jasher. I just wanted to see for myself what it was all about. So God bless you. Talk with you later in Jesus.